All right, welcome to the FeedBak podcast, everybody. My name is Bag. Thank you for tuning in. And this is I guess, the last episode of the year. It's been a shitty year, as we all know, for everybody. And to wrap up the year, I wanted to have some comics and funny people on the show. So, welcome, Rob Morris. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, dude? Good to see you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. You do it all. You produce, you do stand up, you direct too, right?
Yeah, I mean, my main job is running the Romo Room in Austin, Texas, with the other guys over there,
Mm-hmm.
and produce reality television these days in Los Angeles as well. So
Where you
those
at?
are my two main gigs right now.
Where you at now? LA or you're still in Austin?
Right now, I'm in Austin.
Oh, okay, cool, cool.
Yeah. Wait. Yes. To be sure, I lose track of it.
And we got Pat Bernard. How you doing, man?
Back, man. How you doing, brother?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Wait, your thing says Pat two. How you?
Tui.
Tui.
Yeah, I did not have time to make the comedic profile, so that's my government name.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, if anyone wants to find me, that's how.
The identity theft starts today.
Yeah, here we go.
No, so back, dude.
Mm-hmm.
We met at the Romo Room pre-quarantine.
Yes, I do this thing. I've been doing this thing for the past couple of years where I start doing stand-up in January for some reason. And I go to open mics. And 2 years ago, I did the funniest person in Austin contest. And then, no, it was last year. Sorry, it was last year. And then this year again, I started in January, and I found about the Romo Room. I'm like, sweet, another room we can go and do stand-up. And that's how I met you guys. And by the way, thank you for that, Rob, for putting that together. Love the room. I mean, this was going to be my second year, and I keep meeting people who are coming here doing stand up and funny motherfuckers. So, thank you for doing that. Definitely needed now more than ever. And now I hope it's going. But how do you guys know each other?
We had met through a mutual friend, and I was hitting the regular open mic scene, going to the same old spots. And a mutual friend of ours, Dean Stanfield, and tells me, you gotta check out this room. And I think it was one of the first shows that their name had changed, and it was Romo Room. And I stop in and I see the place, and Rob tells the story very, very in an awesome way, where he's like, oh, this is like one of the worst nights this place has ever had. Like, it was just like 4 people were there. But I thought it was awesome. I thought the project, I thought the philosophy behind it was like rad as hell. And so I kept coming back. They never kicked me out. And little did I know it was going to lead to Rob and I producing celebrity shows and doing things big in Austin. And so we had met in January or even December.
I want to say maybe February even.
Wow.
Like late. Yeah. If it was January, it was the end of the month.
Wow.
Of this year. That's when you started the room, right? Oh,
that's right.
Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so why made you want to start a room? I mean, at the time, Cap City was still around. There was still a bunch of open mics around. And you're like, no, I'm just going to do my own thing and open the room and get a bunch of funny people in.
I wish it had been such a clean and simple thing that we tried to do. It was quite a crazy ride. I haven't really broken down this story to anybody, and I certainly don't want to tell it like the saga it deserves to be told as. That's going to be its own, autobiographical chapter at some point. But so basically, here's the short version of what happened for me with the Romo Room, how it came to be. I'm from Austin originally. I grew up here. I moved here when I was like 6 or 7, and I lived here all the way till I left for college. And I fell in love with stand-up when I was a little kid. I put it off for a really long time doing it myself. I finally got into it in like 2016, started doing it consistently and hitting mics in LA. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And I was going around the Valley. I'm going to Burbank. I am trying to go to the West Hollywood clubs and stuff like that. But it's a hell of a scene out there. Just like New York, it's the best in the world are right there.
Right.
And the worst in the world are also you. And so it it's daunting to be in a big place like that. And one of the things that sucks about being anywhere where you're brand new at stand-up comedy is you want to try to get stage time and you want to get as much of it as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say as much of it as you can, I don't mean as many 3-minute sets as you can fit into the night. Like that's not a bad grind, but you want to try, like, I want to try 5, I want to try 7, I want to try 10. Can I do 10?
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to start to do that. And that can be really tough when you're brand new, because no one wants to fucking watch you do 10 minutes of stand-up when you've never done it before. Like, I understand that. I've done it and watched it. I get the elements, but there was this place in North Hollywood called Fourth Wall. And Fourth Wall was a pay to play mic. You paid $5 to do 5 minutes. And some people had
is that I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Pay to actually get on stage.
Yep, absolutely.
It was an actual comedy club, but it wasn't like a bar or something.
It wasn't a club or a bar. It was a fucking beat out room in a North Hollywood strip mall that was painted black. It was a straight room with a big wall in the front that says Fourth Wall on it, and a stage and a mic and a bunch of shitty chairs. It was a dirt hole. And I fell in love with that fucking place. And let me tell you why.
Uh-huh.
I would go to Flappers, I would go to the Improv and do these club mics, you know, the same thing that you would do on Sunday night at Cap City. You go up there, you do 3 minutes, you hope the bookers are there. If they're not, you go home and you try again next week. Mm-hmm. And it's the same grind at the clubs in LA. You go to the store and you do potluck. You go to the Improv and you do the lab. I mean, it's the same vibe. But there's only so many slots. They do fucking lotteries. Sometimes you get on, sometimes you don't. So all these other methods started showing up to try to create the possibility for people to get a lot of stage time. Because you could go to Flappers and try to get on the mic, but they do a lottery pulling out of a bucket. So you could spend 2 hours at this mic and not get up and then leave, because there's twice as many tickets as there are slots. So I spent, and I had a job. So I'm running around at night trying to do mics, and I'm spending half my night at bars and clubs watching shitty open mic comics and not even getting to go up and practice myself. And I was like, how am I ever going to get good at this? Like, I went to a conservatory for acting and directing. That was my like college thing. So I kind of got brainwashed about craft. And I really believe in, if you want to, the 10,000 hour shit, like if you want to get great at something, it takes a long ass time and you got to fuck it up a lot. Yep. And I wanted to do that with stand up. I wanted to get in it. I wanted to fuck it up. I wanted to play. And I was begging to find 10 minutes a week. Then I found a place that was like, look, you sign up online the day before or the day of, you type in your name. When you get there, you Venmo the guy $5 and you get 5 whole minutes. It's only the other comics in the room. It's only an hour long, and then it's over, and then we do another one. And so it became this thing of like, if you hung around this shitty place, you could get up and do 20 minutes in one night. Like, yeah, it costs you $20.
Yeah, it costs you $20.
It did. But dude, I was that hungry. And to be fair, not everybody has that $20, but I had the $20 and didn't want to spend all night at the fucking bar just blowing money on drinks anyway. I'm like, I want to go to a place and fucking practice. And the only place, it was like being a studio musician and not having your own instrument. You got to go to a place and rent their shit for an hour so you can get better. And I saw it like that. I was like, man, I'll give you the $5. Let me do 5 minutes. And I know when it's going to be. I can do another one if I want to. So I fell in love with that. They started opening up all over town. They were booked constantly. They're always full because people were in love with the fact that they could do it at a specific time, but not everybody. A lot of people fucking hate it. Just like Austin was not a fan of it. There's plenty of people in LA who are like, you don't charge people to do stand up. That's stupid.
That sounds weird to me. Yeah.
I get it. You put it like that, it does sound bad. But you say like, hey man, time is money. And you're going to get the time for sure. And it's going to be at this place. And you know what? Trying to make 8 other comics laugh is hard, but you want it to be easy or not. Hard shit's how you get better. And that's a specific experience. So that was my experience in LA. And I thought to myself, every winter and occasionally summer, I'd come home to Austin. I'd try to do some stand up and get up on stage. Same gig. I'm running around. These mics are 3 hours long. There's 30 people. All the friends are going up first. You gotta, maybe it's a lottery, maybe it's not. Everybody hangs out in the lobby or out on the patio.
Yeah, well, outside on the parking lot.
Yeah, and you got 3 people actually watching your comedy show anyway. When back in LA, I had to pay, but at least I had 8 fucks who had to sit in the room. Because when you do that open mic in LA, the paid, you can't be outside. Everyone has to stay in the room and you can't leave till it's over. But it's only 50 minutes long. So to me, that was a fine deal. And these fucks, even if they're looking at their phone, they got to sit in the seats and be there. And if I can get their attention, I might have something here. So I'm thinking to myself, Austin needs a room like this. It needs a space where if you don't want to do it the other way and you got the $5 you could learn how to do this shit and put in some fucking time. And you could keep doing the free shit too if you want. I thought win-win.
Yeah.
I tried to open this place. We got the lease in December. I tried to open it in January.
Wait, did you just go around and like shop for a room, or did you know? Like, how did you came back to Austin and you're like, all right, first of all, I need to find a place, and the setup and all that. And like, Pat, you didn't know about any of this, right?
I didn't know about Rob's thing until it found me. And back, I'll say true that what Rob's describing happened almost verbatim, like checklist to me, that I had started doing Austin comedy in November of last. And
November of 2019?
That's right.
Okay.
And I was getting on pretty regularly, I think, because it was the end of the year and people weren't trying to go out, and it was just a different time. And as soon as the new year hits, all of a sudden the things that Rob's describing just click on, where you have 35 people waiting for a list to get dropped. The list gets put down, and then like moths to a light, they all go to it. And I have to say, I don't know if it's pretentious of me or not, but I'm not doing that. I'm not crowding around a piece of paper to get on for 3 minutes, an hour and a half from now. And so I see everyone crowd. I know that the booker, the host of the thing, is going to put their friends on first, and it's going to be a while until I go on. So I had a night when I went out, intent on doing stand-up. Room was packed. List gets put out. Moss to a light. I get up after the crowd is dispersed, and there's no more spots, and there's no more waiting list spots. And I just go home. And so all of a sudden, this Romo room idea, it just won. It just won. It was just an easy decision to make. And I understand the trepidation with the money, but if you went through it like I went through it, the decision was made for me that I need stage time. I had a night at the Romo room where I did 43 minutes just workshopping, and I left better. And what I could have done was haul downtown, get 7 minutes of stage time. That's 4 hours long. If you don't buy a drink, they look at you sideways. I'm spending the same amount of money anyway. And it won. And I'm glad that it won in my mind, because I became a better comic because of the Romo room.
Well, and to clarify a little bit
I will second that.
Go ahead.
But honestly, I was when I went up, and I'd never done 7 minutes before. And I think that's what. I think I did 7 minutes once. But anyway, about the grind, you're absolutely right. I mean, my first time last year, I went to Kick Butt, and then same thing. Like I knew. I didn't know anybody. I'm like, look, I just want to go up, but I understand the process, because I've heard comics talk about it a lot. I mean, professional comics today talk about, hey, you got to work your way up. You got to get to know the host, and you got to show your face, and you got to meet other comics, and then it's a tight circle when you think about it.
For sure.
And you see it when you go to open mics. You go, okay, there's this group over there, and then there's all the people who never been here before, who don't even know what to do, who just sit around trying to figure shit out. And meanwhile, these guys have been doing it for a minute. They're not like, yo, come on over, let me show you, or hey, you want to, not like run your jokes by me, like something welcoming.
Right. Yeah.
It always appears like, yes, it's going. If you really want to do it, you got to get on stage. And if you want to get on stage, yes, you're going to have to drive all over town to get as much stage time as possible.
Right.
It's supposed to get better, but you're right. I see the value in that. Definitely. It's like skipping the line, really. It's like you're guaranteed stage time.
Well, and the point that we were always making, and to clarify, I should backtrack a little bit. And we never at the Romo room charged anybody for stage time. We never ended up doing that.
Yes.
Because when we originally said, hey, we're going to be opening this place, like we went on Facebook and we're trying to announce it before we opened, so that when we first opened, people would be there. And we were like, look, it's super simple, $5, 5 minutes. You can get in, you can get out, you can do a bunch. Add this to your rotation. We were not trying to replace or remove any
Yes.
other open mic or system in town. It was just like more time. You
Yep.
know, you were like, I could do 2 mics a night sometimes. How about 5? Like, you know, it's just about the idea of getting more time in. And that's really all it is. And it's like, you know, you get to it's kind of like a video game. It's like you can only grind so much to get your character to a certain level. And then sometimes the game has microtransactions. Like, you give us $20, you get 20 more levels. And it's like, some people have a problem with that, but at the same time, it's like, you can't buy yourself into being a better comic, but you have to have the stage time to get better.
Yep.
And sometimes it's not available to you. So basically what happened was, we announced we're going to do this. The community exploded with outrage and cancel
really? You
culture
got shit
against
for
me
it?
personally.
Like
Bro.
you actually put out the model out there and say, this is how we're going
Right.
to operate, and people
Yes.
shit on that?
They lost their fucking minds.
Wow.
And I say that to say, like, dude, I work in Hollywood. I watch people get canceled left and right all the time. That's part of my business.
Mhm.
This is it was the most viciously I'd ever been personally attacked for anything ever in my life. And, you know,
If
I
you want to
look
name
like
names,
this.
feel free.
I get attacked all the time. It's not even important like
No,
who
no,
it
no.
was. No.
Yeah.
And I say this
It's sad.
specifically, like, it would be really easy to do so because there are definitely like key players who had a problem with it. But it's also, as Pat and I were discussing at the show we did at the Brass Tap this last weekend, you know, we have more of an interest in being historically correct about what we offer the community than we have in taking vengeance against somebody or trying to crush somebody. Like, there's a saying that I really love. I don't know if it's attributed to him, if it's his own saying, but he says it a lot. It's a Gary Vaynerchuk thing. He says, there's 2 ways to build the highest building in town. You can build the tallest building, or you can build a building and knock down everybody else's so yours is the tallest. And a lot of people are so intent on doing that second one because they think it's easier or righteous to make sure no one else succeeds, so that because we're obviously the best ones, so we should make sure that we can maintain our gatekeeper status and our control and our power, and make sure that anyone else who tries to seize that from us is put down, so that we can provide the best thing for everybody. And as much as I have a fucking giant Bernie Sanders thing on my wall, I believe in capitalism and competition. And like, fucking,
We'll put a big circle around there.
yeah, do it, man. It's 100%. You're like, this guy's full of shit. He's trashing people. I thought everything was free. No, fair point. No, but I really do. I believe in competitive competition. And I think in, you know, comedy especially, which I think we all agree should be just fundamentally a meritocracy. It should just be like, the best do the best.
Yeah.
Because if you're the best at it, you do the best. You make people laugh the most, you're the best, then you do the best. And if you're trying to figure out who the best is, then we need to allow people the opportunity to get up more often, and it all cascades. So what we did, instead of opening, we changed our name because people so associated the name that we were going to open with this model
What
that
was
we
it?
scrapped. It was called the Daily Open Mic. So the place was going to be called The Daily. So it was like, welcome to the Daily. And it was like the Daily Open Mic because we have an open mic every single day. So that was the idea. We scrapped that because everybody had a problem with it. And more importantly, we didn't want to be associated with people who were predatory. You know, we actually were trying to provide a service that we thought was valuable to everybody. So we didn't want to have it labeled right next to us of, these are the guys trying to rip everybody off. It's like, actually the opposite. We're not trying to take advantage of everybody. We're trying to make sure everybody gets more opportunity, whether or not you get that. So what we did is we spun it. We had one name for like a week. We did an open mic. A few people came. A bunch of audience members came. It was like 2/3 full, and we had a blast. It was like our first thing. Nobody showed up until like 5 minutes before the show started. So we were like, this is a bust. And then they all showed up.
That's
and I was
Austin.
like, okay, yeah.
Nobody wants to be the first one there.
So it's like 5 till showtime. We fill the house 2/3. We have a great show. Everybody has a good time. Everyone, especially the comics, were like, holy shit. Everyone did like 7 minutes. Most of them had never done 3, more than 3. And so we had a good time. Then the next week we're like, let's do it again. Fuck it. Let's see if we can do it again. We won't charge anybody, but we'll keep having people. We'll do these shows and open mics and see if we can find a way to start making money doing something else with this so that we can pay the rent and the lights. That's all we were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
The next week we have another one and Dean brings Pat. And that one, 0 audience members came to. For some reason.
Really?
No, yeah,
Pat, you remember
no
that?
people came.
I do.
Is that was your first time? That was your first time up?
Yeah, Dean was like, dude, you gotta check this place out. And I was like, okay. And then we saw it and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So you perform in front of Rob and Dean?
Yeah, and some
like
guy
4
named,
other people. Aaron.
Yeah, some guy named Aaron, who did potentially the most committed worst humor like set I've ever seen. But like, you gotta give him credit.
Sweet guy.
I mean, oh yeah, good man.
He's a very sweet man. I haven't seen
Yeah.
him since,
Nope.
but I remember.
He went and there's nobody there, so it's like, fuck it, this is not for me, maybe.
But what was, I think, well, Pat, and you can speak to this, like, what made you want to come back after doing that room the way that it was?
I knew that there would be stage time, and like we keep circling back to it, but that's what it is that like I didn't care if it was just me. You had the doors open, and at least you were gonna fucking be there. So like you were gonna close them on me, so I was gonna go, I was gonna do it, and I was gonna get stage time, and that's what mattered to me. And just to circle back for a bit, back when you were talking about like the community hated it, I personally, a couple of comics as well who were invested in the Roma room got blackballed from places. But like I was only like 3 months into it, so like they were like, you don't get to do Cap City or Velveeta room, and I was like, I was never getting booked there anyway. Yeah, because I was like associated with the Roma room.
That's crazy to me.
It wasn't like directly said to me, but it implied, it was clear that, but it was like you're not gonna get on a Cap City and Velveeta, and it was like fucking sick. I don't get to have sex with Kate Upton either. I don't know why I can't do that. Means anything to me.
That's okay.
Back, you should have somebody on who was against us at the time and talk to them about it. You should get their perspective.
I would love to, because it's the community. First of all, Austin, like Cap City was pretty much the, rest in peace. I did a whole show about that. You can go back and listen to it. Cap City was basically the mecca of comedy here, right? All the greats have gone through it. And then besides that, there's Velveeta room downtown, and then the rest is just open mics all over town. Like even the concept of a showcase didn't come until much later, like aside from Cap City and Velveeta room. And so when comedy started getting popular, and I was surprised myself that I would find so many, I would meet so many local comics when I first started. And I was a judge for the funniest person in Austin twice, 2 years in a row. And so a lot of people that I saw at open mics when I started, I judged them on the contest. And I'm like, I'm glad you're still around, but there's actually a community here. And it blows my mind when I hear people who all grinding the same way, like they know what the formula, we're going to repeat that over and over again, but stage time, that's all there is. You can only get better if you practice, and you have to be on stage. You have to be in front of people. It's not like guitar. You can go in the basement, practice, hibernate for winter and come out and you Jimi Hendrix. Well, maybe not. But point is, you have to do it in front of people. That's the only way. You can be the best writer in the world, but unless you test your material, there's no way to tell whether it's funny or not. And so, the idea that that there's one way to do comedy. There's one way to get to that goal is ridiculous. Yeah, and you gonna give me some names off the air, and I'm gonna call them up and say, look, man, I gotta know.
Yeah,
they might not be doing better now. They could have used that just like anybody else.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. Some people I feel like had a very fair attitude of like, look, man, I'm already broke, and comedy is like the thing that's fun for me. And you want to start taking the thing that I do 5 times a week, and now it costs me $25 a week if I come to your place to do it, and I'm not into that. That does not bother us. The idea that people are like, this isn't really for me, I don't want to do it, does not hurt our feelings. But there were people, like Pat said, who are actively like blackballing comics, we tried to book an opening show, like the first show we were going to have there. And like, I tried to book a showcase for the opening. And I had like 3 different comics that were fairly prominent. Like I went to a bunch of open mics before I opened what was the Daily. They were everywhere, you know, every fucking open mic they were there. I went and watched them. I liked their sets. I booked them. They all bailed one at a time for weird. They'd be like, hey, never mind, I can't do the show. Oh, no, I'm off. No, I don't want to do it. And it became so clear that people were telling them, look, if you're going to go do that, you're not going to do anything with us. Even on Facebook, right when it blew up, 2 pretty prominent bookers in Austin said they were early commenters. Anyone who associates with this will never work with me again. And the idea that would hit them so hard, we did, at least Anthony Bain and I, who was very early on, he's one of our OGs, and he and I were talking about it in December when it all happened. It all happened around Christmas. It was like, other than the fact that this is unfair and it hurts our feelings, what is the thing in the core here that they're so deeply upset about? Because people don't lose their shit for no reason. It may not be a good reason, but they have one. And so we really dug into it to try to understand the other side, dude. We really did. And what we ended up with was, we want to do the same model. We won't charge you for the fucking time. If that's the problem, we'll find out another way. But we want to open an open mic theater that has open mics every single day, that offers 5-7 minute sets to people, 10-minute sets. Like, this is important and we want to make it. If we have to find another way to pay for it, we will. That wasn't the thing we were excited about. Right, and that's what everybody thought. They're like, oh, these guys thought they think they found a way to make more money off of us. And it's like, no, nah, dude.
I mean, it's not just that. Because I mean, when I came in the first time, you're like, hey, if you want to donate whatever for a drink, because I mean, you get drinks and snacks, and then you're like, yo, by the way, we actually record your set,
right?
And you can get that, and I'm like, that's a no fucking brainer.
Yeah,
it's really a no brainer. So wow.
Yeah, that's what
we did. We recalculated and we tried to find value.
Like, what's the value? Exactly. Like, if you think in terms of business, like, what value you're providing,
right?
Who are your customers? And that's it. The value is, look, you get guaranteed stage time, you get recorded, you get to hang out in a room. You're gonna have an audience, well, except for that time Pat showed up the first time. And then
the only time we ever didn't have it was the one time Pat came.
Were you sad? Were you bummed out or?
No, I wasn't bummed. I knew it was a cool place. I knew it had potential. And
okay.
But back, I'll ask you that. I mean, the thing that matters, how did you feel when you came?
Right.
I feel welcomed. Because usually you go to open mic and everybody is kind of just hanging around. If they know each other, because they see the same faces, they kind of huddle together, and you kind of it's like your first day at school. Like, you don't know where it's supposed to sit, and the cliques are already established, and you're kind of looking around, and you don't know what to do. And there's a paper. I got to go. Oh shit, I'm last now, and I'm going to sit around and I don't know. I need to practice my set, but I want to learn from these guys, because apparently they've been doing it longer than I am, because I'm at the fucking bottom of the list. And yet you show up to the Romo room, and then Rob comes up and he goes, yo, man, welcome. This is nice sound. We do podcasts here too. If you donate, we got drinks and stuff, and we're going to record your set, and you just email me and I'll send it to you.
I think the coolest part as well is that the project in its first form was around for 4 months.
Yeah.
And yet somehow, like, that crop of guys that were there first, like, if you look at town and look at like who's doing stuff, it's the good majority of who's working and grinding. And so, like, it just empowered people for what it was, and it'll be back and it'll do it again. But I think that when you look at the scene right now, the fingerprints are all over it.
That's good. It feels like the end of the show already, because we're talking about roof for so long. Yeah, dude. No, but hold on. But I mean, let's backtrack. No pun. Because Pat, like you say, you started last November, and you guys are relatively young. Not relatively. You are young. Not relatively. I'm old. You can't tell.
How old are you?
Yeah, 57.
57.
57 or 21. Pick one. It's the same.
Right. Either way.
It's the same thing. This has not changed. Maybe a little bit more
Ah.
and less hair. Other than that, same shit. You can ask all my friends.
No.
Now I'm 38.
Oh, nice. Well, you know what they say, Asian don't raisin.
Yeah, I'm not
That
Asian.
doesn't apply here,
Like, yeah,
but
no,
they say that.
I don't crack. At least I get.
Oh, that right. That's the one.
Yes.
Fuck.
And I'm African, not African American. I'm African. We don't crack for shit. Sun doesn't even crack us.
What part of
33.
Africa are you from?
I'm not that far behind you.
Senegal.
Okay.
West as you can get. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you,
My roommate's from Côte d'Ivoire.
Côte d'Ivoire?
Yeah.
People say Côte d'Ivoire. They don't say Ivory Coast anymore.
They don't, because it's like I don't know why, but they got away. You think of all the countries that like should have gotten away. You think like España should have gotten away with not being called Spain anymore.
Yeah.
But somehow Côte d'Ivoire has like gotten underneath everything, and like it's not Ivory Coast anymore, bro.
I mean, you say France, you don't say France. If you say France, you're a douchebag, first of all.
Yes.
But for some reason Ivory Coast is there's like, no, not good. Côte d'Ivoire. Like, Côte d'Ivoire. If you don't say it the right way, like don't try. It's kind of weird. It's weird. I don't get that. But anyway, how did you like, what was the bug that, because did you grow up with comedy? You have like family? Family is a comedy show? Like what was it?
Man, so back, I guess there are three kind of pillars that I could build it on. One being that I remember being very young, and I have one sister, mom and a dad. And when I would be in my room and they would start cracking up in the living room and I wasn't there, I got mad. I got mad that I wasn't a part of whatever that was, entertainment or whatever else. I remember putting on like sketches and plays for my parents because I thought that stuff was cool. And I didn't dig on stand-up until I saw Mitch Hedberg. And that's not even a generation. Is it? Yeah, dude. Yeah, it just like was an intersectional thing. And I was probably like 8 or 9. And
was it the Comedy Central Presents?
Yes. And I had no idea how whacked out he was in that special till years later. But I remember watching it and it just clicked because it was like whatever I thought was stand-up before was like, I was too young to get it. But this was like the most digestible thing. It was just like, this guy has jokes. And you could tell your grandpa some, you could tell your friend some, you could tell your mom some. And based off of that, I remember telling my parents, like, turn this on. This is amazing. My parents were born in the 50s. So like they're 70s babies. So they're watching it going, what is he on? God damn. Like, why is our son watching this? But I thought it was so funny. I did stand up at the 4th grade talent show and like wrote jokes and like did it. Wow. And so I always had, because of that, I always had a passion for comedy. I always had a passion for like entertainment and just being like a valuable asset in a room that's having fun. And so I didn't attend to the bug until I was in college. I was
2 years ago. I don't know, man. You look 21 to me.
27 is the age. 27 is the age. And for those at home who are wondering how I keep such a fresh look, I don't know. It just happened. I don't use facial moisturizer.
People.
No. Nope.
No, not even Jergens.
I don't even use soap. No. So
God
I was
a junior
in college, and they had a stand-up event at the end of the year, and I signed up for it. And I did stand-up, and it was the first time I like properly did it. I guess since 4th grade, but that doesn't even count. And so I did it, and then I just couldn't get away from it after that. And I would go to New York. This was such a money suck and such a silly thing I did, but I would go to New York twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, and do stand-up. And I would go to these open mics and like cut out days, and just, I've never forget it back. I would drive to the Rutherford train station, get on that bitch, take the train to Secaucus, get off at Secaucus, take it to Penn Station, get off and trudge it and spend the whole day. I'll never forget how much fun that was. I'll never forget how nice everyone was. Like, while you're there
in New York City,
man, when you're in the building, when you're there, Everyone is nice as shit. When they're out, when it's like they're about to go do a second mic, or they're about to go grab food, it's all right, bro. What you about to get into?
But
and like beat it like at that point.
Yeah.
But like while you're in the building, everyone is just so nice. And I did that for about a year. I did get paid for it once. I did a show in Brooklyn and I got paid for it. And it was at that point when everything, my parents had to talk to me about it. Like, what is the goal with this? Is this honestly something you want to do? Because I was bleeding my money. I was bleeding theirs because it was an expensive hobby to get into, to travel from northeastern Pennsylvania to New York City 2 or 3 times a week. And as well, I had a comedian who I considered my mentor on the New York comedy scene, who had a master's in electrical engineering.
Is he a new comic?
His name then is not known by many folks. He does time still at like Gotham and stuff. But he's not a name at all. He looks like Black Ray Romano.
Black Ray Romano?
Yeah. His name is Jason, and I feel so bad. The years have passed. I forget what his last name was. But his family was getting evicted from their house, and his only form, with a master's in electrical engineering, his only thing was stand-up. And I remember getting up in front of the room. It was at the stand, and I remember in front of the room being like, "This is plan A. This is what I want to do." And I had people who were actively doing it, who were invested in the thing that I wanted to do, tell me, please no, don't do this. And so that affected me a lot. My parents' conversation affected me a lot. And so I took a 4-year break from it. And it would always scratch in my mind. I would tell people shit, like I used to do stand-up. And I then had one of my good friends who lives in Austin. His brother came down. We're from the same hometown, this guy in Austin and his brother came down to visit, and he's like, "You're not doing stand-up?" I said, "No." And he goes, "Oh, why do you keep telling people that you used to do it then?"
Ooh.
And I was like, "Oh shit.
You on fire under your ass?" That's
cut. Yeah, that really did. That cut. But he knew what he was
Oh.
doing. I've known that family. I knew the guy who talks that shit since like 3rd grade.
That's
So,
such
like,
an East Coast comment.
Yeah, no shit. Like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm gonna say some shit about that.
Like, you're not doing stand-up? Why do you keep telling people that you used to do it?
Oh,
Well, you think you're better than me? That is the next
yeah,
line.
yeah, you're right. You think you're funny? Maybe you used to, but you stopped, so you're not funny no more.
And so I attended it again, and I don't plan on stopping, man. I remember every New York comic telling me when I was doing it, never stop writing. And it sounds silly now, but they were 100% right. I should have never stopped writing. And yeah, dude, I'm glad that I'm back in it. I can't worry about the past. I'm looking forward to everything we got going down here in the scene, everything Austin has to offer. Man, last weekend I think was the best. I don't know much about the history. I'll kind of, disclaimer myself on that one, but I gotta think last Friday was the biggest night Austin stand-up's ever had. Big J. Okerson, Mark Norman, Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, all doing time. And you had all these other multitude of shows going on too. Like you had these like Harker Heights things or something in Leander or like something going on way down south. Like stuff was going on all over town, and it was all stand-up. And it just means a lot to be a part of this scene right now, dude.
You can't, it's everywhere. And it's a great thing, I think. I mean, it's funny that, Rob, doing in LA and you in New York, those are like the biggest comedy cities in the country and the toughest ones, and now you're in Austin and you just like, you know what, we're gonna build our stuff. But like when you got off that first time, you're like, this is it, or did you feel down? Like, how was the set? Do you remember the jokes? Did you get laughs the first time
at the talent show?
No, you were young at the talent show. Oh yeah, never mind. Yeah.
Like in college or
in college? In college,
yeah. I did okay. I did not win the competition, which was pretty beat. But I did well enough. I did jokes that I liked. I did jokes that I had made because I learned about it like a month before. So I wrote jokes in like a month and did them in a month. And yeah, that kind of started it for me because I realized like, oh shit, like I can get up on stage and make people laugh. That's pretty great.
It's the best.
So let's just keep that rolling. And yeah, dude. What were the jokes? You always remember like your worst jokes from a set because you're like, gee, I had a joke about the guy who ran the marathon, Pheidippides, and then like he comes back and he finds out that like soccer moms do this as like a just to say they could do it, like, oh, you like ran the distance that like they killed you, and like, yeah, they do it, and then like they usually have like orange peels or whatever at the end and like hang out with their kids, like, oh, but I died trying to like deliver the message, and like, yeah.
It was just like this.
Yeah, it's just like that. Just awkward silence, and no one's like,
right.
that's not really an instructional joke.
But what shows did you guys grow up watching to where you're like, oh, this is something? I mean, you said Mitch Hedberg, the Comedy Central Percent, those were dope. I mean, some of the best, came through that. I remember watching them. But where is it like maybe saw a comic that you're like, hey, you know what? This guy went from being a comedian to now being, superstar, or I'm thinking like sitcom people like the Seinfelds or like Ray Romano. You're saying, like, what was it for you guys?
For me, I've always been a nerd for comedy, man. I was raised by two people in the 90s who were telling me, hey, man, sorry, but all the cool shit already happened. You missed it. There will be no more cool shit. So your job as an American young child is to learn all the old cool shit from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that we know if you're going to hang out with us. These are my parents. And I'm like,
okay,
but I want to watch Power Rangers. And they're like, great, we're going to watch Lethal Weapon. And we need you to watch fucking Eddie Murphy stand up and all this stuff. So you get our jokes. So when I was a little kid, there was like no censorship. I watched Carlin.
You watched Raw?
I watched
Raw.
6
years old.
my favorite stand-up special when I was like 9 years old was Delirious. Hands down. Eddie Murphy's Delirious was like my favorite one. I think Raw's better. I'll hear that argument 100%. I'm not sure Delirious is better. I actually just think I found it first, and so I've got a little bit more sentiment with it. But Raw is aptly named. Like, it hits way harder.
Delirious is already a superstar, and I feel like he's like, okay, you thought the outfit in Raw was ridiculous, and Delirious, he shows up with the gloves and all that, and you're like,
and the room's
we
bigger,
get it
too.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
It feels like a Kevin Hart thing of like, you did a small theater and now you're playing MSG, and it's like, yeah. But the jokes in Delirious, the cookout, the ice cream, all the family shit was like, that was regular lingo in my house. That's how we talk to each other, like through Eddie Murphy jokes, through Robin Williams jokes, through, stand-up was a language in our family. We watched so much of it. And it's like someone would we'd be out, making a fire at Christmas out on our family at a farm, and then my dad would come over and spray a bunch of lighter fluid on it, and it would go higher, and he'd go, now that's a fire, like we start doing the Eddie Murphy bit. It was always that. And then as soon as I got into the stuff my family liked, I departed into the shit I started liking myself in the 90s. As a kid, huge Chris Rock fan. Holy shit. Chris Rock was maybe one of the biggest when I was younger. And you know what? Contrary to both of these, like very raw, pun intended.
Black comics. White comics.
I was just gonna say, who I was a huge fan of when I was a kid at the same exact time was Bill Engvall. When I was a little kid, dude, when I was a little kid, I was obsessed with. I thought Bill Engvall was one of the funniest dudes.
Wait,
he felt like my dad.
Before the blue collar guys.
Yeah. Way before blue collar.
Oh, I didn't know about him until the blue collar stuff.
He had his whole bit was, and he clearly got this from Foxworthy. So Foxworthy, got famous on You Might Be a Redneck, and he would do a list bit, right? And Engvall's version was Here's Your Sign.
Here's Your Sign, yeah.
Yeah, and so his first record was Here's Your Sign, and a friend of mine gave me a burned copy of it. And that was like, remember we would trade stand-up on discs? I would get a little nostalgic about that. It was like getting a porno or something. You're like, oh shit, I gotta go listen to this. And I got into that. And then after that, it was just a cavalcade of like, I got obsessed with all the Gen X comics, like Patton Oswalt, David Cross, Bamford, all those guys, and even the weird ones like Eugene Merman and Kristen Schaal, and like
Talk about
I
weird.
wanted, yeah, I wanted to find people who were doing weird shit. And then I got like retro into weird comedy, like Emo Phillips and fucking the amazing Jonathan, the magician, is one of
Yeah,
my favorite comedians ever. He's a genius. So I was a nerd for it. I used to fall asleep at night listening to stand up the way that people listen to like a sound machine or the radio. I
uh-huh.
would listen to the same records over and it was a weird, I was a, you know, I might still be autistic. But the thing is, there was something about the words and the obsession I had with language.
Yes,
Man,
thank you.
that was my shit.
Thanks for saying that. Thanks for saying that because I've always, I mean, I grew up in France, and when I was a kid, I mean, there's comedy in France too. We're not gonna get into copy comic. That's a whole other show. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the French comics stealing American comics jokes,
No, I don't know
actually
about that.
making money. Yeah, it's a huge controversy in France. Um, anyway, growing up, I used to watch French comedy, and I would go to at recess. I would actually do the bits, and there was and it was always a I had like my crew of friends, and we would, like you said, which everything we're saying is a quote from a
Right.
stand-up or sketch comedy show or anything like that. And I remember, and I used to wake up at night, like late night, to watch the Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
Hell yeah.
And my English was not good, by the way. It was okay, but I was like just daddy, like, man, there's the first of all, I didn't, as far as like, yeah, the stars will coming up. I'm like, yeah, I know these guys, they're all actors. We'll get the French version of them and all that. And then there's this guy that does comedy, and I'm like, man, you could do so much with a mic. And the language idea, the language thing, because it's really a puzzle when you think about it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm a huge nerd. I'm a computer science major and all that. And I mean, I was. And but the idea that, okay, if I take these words and I string them like this, right? I go and say them in front of people, they don't work. All right, I'm gonna go back home and then just rearrange them, like change the verb, maybe I add some
Yes.
alliterations to it. Maybe if I take this sentence and I move it to the bottom instead of the top, and maybe when I say this, I should do this gesture at the same time or make a face or whatever. So, in other words, we're all scientists and we're all trying to figure out what is the right formula that I can use with this set of words and physical
Yeah.
movements that will make these motherfuckers laugh
The first
every
lesson in
time.
that, and you got to agree with me as someone who used to like replicate bits for people, because that was my entire personality as a child.
Yeah.
I You learn that lesson the first time that you say the bit just like the guy said the bit in front of your friends and they don't laugh and you're like, what the fuck just happened? I did it. I did the intonation, I did the face, I did the hands, I did the whole thing, and they didn't laugh. And you're like, then your brain just goes into this like, well, then what is it? Like if you're a nerd, like I'm the same way, your math brain goes, no, 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 no.
No,
This
no.
equation
Yeah,
equals laughter. And it
exactly.
didn't. What? And then so you get obsessed with why. What was it? What was the difference? And then you find out, oh, I said the emphasis on the instead of, and that makes it not funny. Holy shit. Like, yeah, that's brilliant. I love that.
So, Pat, were you ever able to actually be part of the family and made them laugh with your comedy at some point? I mean, once you started and you got comfortable, once like that guy basically insulted you, and you went back like, hey, you know what? Yes, I can do this. I'm
Was
making it
ever
very
part of
tricky.
my family?
You know what I
To this
mean?
day, Pat.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can you relate to the jokes they have at dinner?
yeah, I will say that my parents were never really like interested in modern stand-up. I think that like my dad definitely kind of had Rob's deal where his parents were like, no, this is funny. So like
Mhm.
my dad knew a lot of W.C. Fields. My dad knew a lot of like Jack Benny. And my dad knew a
Oh
lot of
wow.
like
Okay.
old stuff. And so like my dad thought that stuff was funny. And it aged perfectly. That stuff is still
Mhm.
funny. Yet like I found myself being raised, at least my dad's side, like he cared about comedy that was before him.
Mhm.
and that wasn't something I really could relate to. My mom is naturally funny. My mom just had like a funny way about her. Like she just would speak her honesty, and that made her funny. And I'd say then that the influence that I got, like with my parents, where we could like meet in the middle ground of anything. I didn't get Everyone Loves Raymond. They'd always watch Everyone Loves Raymond, but Saturday Night Live. I had
Oh,
a
really?
Trivial Pursuit. I had a Trivial Pursuit game of Saturday Night Live, and I knew every goddamn thing about that show before like 2002. Like I could just rattle it off, boy. And so like my mom and I were able to connect on like Gilda Radner. And like before
Yeah.
that, we
Oh,
never had any
nice.
like comedic connection. And I was like, man, that's so funny when she just like when what's his face, Andy Kaufman just like gives up on the bit and she's just like having a laugh to herself, like this is not happening. Like like we were able to connect on that. And but that would be the language I'd say back that I was able to finally speak with my parents was Saturday Night Live, because like it wasn't like what's there to get. It was right in front of your face. And
That's
so that
dope.
kind of served as like the Rosetta Stone between myself and my parents thought was funny.
The one show I used to watch all the time, uh, always on Comedy Central, was Tough Crowd.
Yes.
Tough Crowd.
So good.
When I discovered Tough Crowd, I was like, this is it, because
Yeah.
all the guys on there are, first of all, fucking killers.
Every single one.
And between Colin Quinn, especially in New York comics, I mean, once in a while they would have some LA guys, but when you have people like Patrice O'Neill
Hmm.
on there, and Dave Attell and Greg Giraldo and I mean Kevin
Rogan.
Hart, yeah, Rogan was there, Lewis Black, and it's like all these guys are funny ass people, and and I loved, and one thing that really drew me as well, and I'm like, yo, the way they talk to each other, that's how I talk with my boys. Like the
Yeah.
people that I grew up with, like this is what we do. We shit on each
That
other
show
all the
was
time.
special in that way. I don't think there's been almost any other TV
No,
shows that
no.
did what that show did. I don't know, Pat, if you ever caught it, but it was
Go online and
it's worth
type
a
it.
look.
It's basic. Think of it like the um not the
It's
Daily Show.
kind of like, I think the closest thing that's on right now, well, it's not on right now because of COVID, but the closest thing right now, and it's not the same, but think Bush era David Spade's Lights Out on Comedy Central, where they kind of roast the week with a few comics and he leads it,
Yeah,
except it was led by Colin Quinn during the Bush era, and it was fucking
like back to
hard,
back,
man. They
not rehearsed or anything. They had
they
bits
roasted
sometimes.
shit, and you'd watch stuff and be like, wow, this is cable television. Like, yeah, it was racy for Comedy Central in like '04, right?
Yeah, '04.
'06,
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Great show.
and it's some of the best, came out of it.
Colin
And
Quinn, great underappreciated comic.
yes, Scott, definitely. And the thing is, it was all like current events. So they talk about the news. Like there's something came out, Bush said something, and then, okay, what do you guys think? And then just start going at it. And sometimes they'll go at each, I mean, all the time they'll go at each other. Like I remember the one that stuck with me was the one where Dat Fan was on with Patrice O'Neill. Remember Dat Fan? He won Last Comic Standing.
Yeah, I know Dat Fan.
Personally, Dat Fan personally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is gonna sound crazy to you, back, but Dat Fan would come to the Fourth Wall in North Hollywood at 5 p.m. and film his open mic set every single day and
Wow.
pay $5.
That even is a
That's how I met
I wonder how he's
Dat
doing.
Fan, man.
I
He
wonder
does okay. Unfortunately, his flyers are some of the most hilariously bad comedy flyers. I just joined a Facebook group. If you could find this, I'll invite you, called Bad Comedy Flyers. And people just post like the most horrendous stand-up show posters. It's so much fun. And Dat's shows make it on Bad Comedy Flyers a lot.
So
Yeah.
this guy, he won one of those like reality contest shows, and he comes on
Yeah.
Tough Crowd, and Patrice O'Neill, who's my favorite comic, period.
Maybe one of the greatest. Yeah.
And he just roasts the guy about, dude, can you do a joke without using your Vietnamese accent? It was Vietnamese, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not doing the Vietnamese accent, because that was his punchline to every joke. He would say like, here's the premise, and then that would be the punchline, and people loved it, and he won the contest. And Patrice O'Neal called him out. Yes, and Patrice called him out right there on the show, going, "Look, man, can you do a joke without using that accent? Because that's all you do. That's the whole shtick. It's a fucking shtick." And so that's how ruthless that show was. If you got on there, you had to be ready to get roasted and to roast others, because that's how.
How did Dat Fan do on his second appearance on Tough Crowd?
I don't remember. I don't know if he even came back.
I don't think he did, dude.
I don't think he came back. Fuck, I wouldn't come back after that. It's Patrice O'Neal we're talking about. The man, like, comic. I mean, just ruthless in your face. Like, fuck you. Do an Indian accent instead to be funnier.
Oh, speaking of very underappreciated stand-ups that were on Weekend Update, Pat, talk about Norm Macdonald. He's one of my favorites of all time. I know he's like one of your heroes, right?
He's one of my heroes. He's one of my influences. As I got older, I realized how funny he was. It's one of those things you don't get when you're a kid, but as you get older, you're like, good Lord. Like, he plays stand-up comedy. I had Will Fordyce, who's a stand-up. He's an open micer around town. He said it perfectly. He plays it like the orchestra. You don't realize it's happening until it's over. Where it was like, that was beautiful. And the way he would do Weekend Update, I've heard Letterman say this, like, during the time, like the early 90s when Norm was on, where it was the best part of the show, because he just always built jokes in like this way that was going to outlive him. Like, you listen to some of the jokes that maybe Kevin Nealon or Colin Quinn does on Weekend Update, and like, if you watch them back, it's like, yeah. But for whatever reason, the way that Norm would make jokes and the way that he would write jokes, it just outlives him. And that energy he's able to create, that's like uncomfortable, but it's also like, just accept it. It's a joke and let's swim in it. Man, Norm Macdonald was really one of my heroes. And I think that there's something to be said for someone who gets funnier over time, who doesn't just rest on their laurels. And Norm Macdonald is not, I mean, he's famous. Yeah. But he never had like a Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, like frame of time in his life.
Dirty work.
Fair. With Ari Lang.
That's right. Yeah. But man, I can't say enough things about Norm Macdonald in terms of like, you copy someone your first couple of years in comedy, and I copied him hard body, because it was a formula that worked, and let's just do that and figure out the rest later.
See, that's interesting, because I've heard this concept a lot. Like, you know, to be a quote unquote successful comic, it's about a 10-year grind. I know, but I've seen people do it in shorter. I've seen people do it in longer, but on average,
it's not a terrible number.
Yeah, that's about right. Because the first 5 years, you're trying to figure out like what your thing is and who
you are.
Huh?
I said who you are.
Yes.
It is the most revealing thing, man. I mean, it just, if you let it. If you don't, it closes you up and makes you more hard. But I think if you do it right, you have an opportunity to learn a lot about yourself, because the room will tell you who you are.
That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. And you do find yourself, because especially if you're a comedy nerd and you're like, you have so many quotes in your head, and you think of a joke and you go, oh man, that's how like Chappelle will tell this. And then you catch yourself thinking like that because you've heard so much of it, and you do without thinking. Or you do start doing physical stuff where you're like, oh, I'm gonna do one-liners like Stephen Wright type shit. Or I'm going to do storytelling, or I'm going to be set up punchline kind of comic. Like, what kind of comic do you want to be? And if it's not you, you can feel that. You really can. You really
sometimes
can.
You can't, and people have to tell you. I was listening to I think it was Mark Normand actually on maybe it was on Rogan. It doesn't matter. I was listening to him talk about how in the beginning he was doing Seinfeld and kind of knew it, but he wasn't really aware. And someone straight up told him, he's like, you got to knock that shit off. Like, you got to stop doing that. Mm-hmm. Like, you're a good joke writer, but you're doing Seinfeld. You can't be Seinfeld. Like, as much of a fan as you are, and you're bringing a lot with that. When you're doing another comic, if you're doing it right, there is obviously, like you said, something valuable that you're bringing in because you see that it works. And then if you play enough, you can morph that into who you really are. It doesn't just like cut it off and you start fresh or something. Oh, now I'm going to be this kind of guy, because that's a recipe for driving yourself crazy. When you're just like, I don't know, now I'll do magic or props or something. What can I do to be good? It's like,
I want to
finally, I
make these
read a
people
joke.
laugh.
Yeah.
And my dad jokes are not working out.
Right.
I mean, to me, it was when I started seeing people, because I understand that, you know, once you're exposed to a lot of comedy, and I've kind of became a snob of it, honestly, to where
Yeah,
there's
it's
some
possible.
specials that I used to watch that I just used to laugh out loud, and I'm like, okay, now the bar is here. Right.
Sure.
I would watch Bigger and Blacker or Bring the Pain or An Elephant in the Room. And I'm like, this is the bar. Or like some earthquake shit. I'm like, this is where it's at. Anything under that, I'm not gonna have this like visceral reaction, like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Ha 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 ha. But and I started kind of looking around and seeing, okay, oh, well, there's different ways to appreciate it. You know, as when you're on stage and you see people out in the audience and all that they don't have that ha ha laugh, in a way you kind of feel like, damn, that didn't quite work. That doesn't mean they don't think you're funny. You ever
Mm-hmm.
feel that way? Because I can go see I saw Ron White last month at Vulcan.
Right.
They had some funny moments, but it's also funny moments. You just, just a smile. I'm like, oh, that was actually a good joke. Now I think of it like, oh, that's great writing. Oh, I like how he set that up. Oh, the punchline came out the right. Oh, I like how he put these two ideas together. Oh, I see how there's a callback. That's how I
Yeah.
look at it now. I don't think of it like, oh my God, this is hilarious.
You appreciate the craft of what he's doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you are looking for the laugh.
Yeah. And you can't go backwards, I think, is one of the things. I work in television and people often, like, I work in reality TV and people are like, they get all hyped up about reality and they ask, like, one of my jokes is, people always ask me, like, is it real? Is it reality TV really real? It's like, no, it's TV. Like, that is the thing it is first. We use
It's
the
the
word
second word, but
reality
that's what it
to
is.
mislead you into thinking, and it's only the word that we use in the business is unscripted. You either work in scripted or unscripted TV. We don't really call it reality as much
Uh-huh.
because that's the distinction. And people often ask me, they're like, well, don't you want to work on scripted stuff? Like, don't you want to go work on like Avengers or like Game of Thrones or like work on something? Like, don't you want to work on feature films and shit? Or at least like a TV show that's like a Breaking Bad or something cool. And I'm like, I don't want that shit ruined for me. Like, I like being a fan of that stuff and not seeing through the illusion of it. I don't want to learn how to be a magician because I actually kind of like watching magic shows. I don't want to learn how it all works. And you're right with comedy. Once you learn how it all works, your brain analyzes it differently. It doesn't mean that I don't laugh. I don't have a good time at comedy shows. I just watched Mark Norman do pretty close to the same set 4 times in 2 days.
Right.
And I had a great fucking time. How much did I laugh out loud? I don't know. It's hard to say. I was also at work, so I was focused on that. But I was far more like, ooh, yeah, clever. Oh, I
Yeah.
like what he
Yeah.
did there.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, it's like, listen, it's like when you play fucking instruments and you hear somebody play the guitar, you're not just impressed by the 4 chords like you used to be when you were a kid, but when they do something really cool, you're like, hi, hell yeah, dude. I see what you pulled off there. That shit's
Yeah.
tricky.
I've actually when I saw yeah, it was at the Vulcan show, Ron White and then Joe Rogan.
Hinchcliffe, right?
Yeah, Tony headline. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tony headline. And right after, and actually while I'm watching him, I'm thinking the jokes that have nothing to do with what he's saying, nothing to do, but just I've always gotten a kick out of seeing other people being funny, because it inspires me to write more and to kind of elaborate on, oh yeah, I just thought of, now I had this joke in my head and I don't, now if I twist it this way, maybe I don't know. I haven't fucking tried it yet, but I'm constantly like rethinking, and by seeing other people, you know, perform, it inspires me to actually to write more. How do you write, Pat? Like, what's your thing?
Well, I would say back, isn't that the point? Like when you go out and you're inspired by these people and you want to write
Exactly.
more.
Like,
Like
if you suck, you inspire me to go and to go and I'm
Either way,
serious.
dude. Either way, dude.
It,
Either way. And
it,
so when you made the point then back about like they keep raising the bar, and it's like, no, the bar's not raised, so I don't want to consume it no more. Stand up is this like consumed for laughter, like humor and like happiness. Like that's the ultimate. So like if you see Patrice O'Neill keep scaling up, and then you see someone go who's not as talented, you're like, I don't like that. Or like at first you're like, that's not as good as this other thing, because stand-up is this like mass consumption of like laughter and having a good time. And but dude, if you're inspired by someone and they make you try to write jokes, or they make you see humor in a different way, that's the point. And when you ask how I write jokes, man, poorly. I think that
don't say that. But I mean,
lot of jokes. I write a lot of jokes, and the percentage of them that are good, I guess, over time is slowly going upwards. I'm trying to listen right now to folks who have done it before and kind of take in the principles first. And I'm getting better with it. I think that like if you just write the exact same way all the time, you talk about a grind. Holy Lord, that's going to be hard. But if you're exposing yourself to new things and shit, man, yeah, if you see a bad comic go up, who the fuck knows? You might walk away going like, man, the way he built that joke was stupid. What he should have done was this. Yeah. All of a sudden, you just wrote a joke. So take that and take the positive from it. And if you watch someone brilliant go up, study it. Don't copy it verbatim, but learn from it and apply it to your own deal. I have to say that I've read a book recently. I'm treating it honestly like as if it's like a college course or some shit. Mm-hmm. But it's Jean Perret. I don't know what these French guys. Sorry, back. Jean Perret. It's Jean.
That's how French sounds like. It's Jean Perret. Out of here.
You got to do this with your mouth while you do
Jean Perret. Like, no, Jean Perret.
Always the last letter tells you how to end it. And he has a comedy writing step by step. He was a writer in the 60s and 70s, and he just had two paradigm shifting things that I've applied to my writing game. And just I write it on the top of every piece of paper before I start any writing session. It's see, recognize, accept. And if you skip one of those steps and you think that you could just get the audience to the recognize part of it, they're going to be totally lost. You have to kind of take their hand sometimes and slowly walk them in the ocean. And that's what people don't dig. Like, if they do, good for them. Yeah, dude. Like,
okay,
yeah,
you laugh. I promise you. Just bear with me here. You're going to drown first.
You don't know where anyone's at in their day. Like open mic is great. Open mic is this great tool, but like if you get good at open mic, that's not good. Because the point of it is to perform in front of regular people. And part of
comics,
not comics, and performing in front of regular people is someone in the audience just had one of the best days they've had in months, and someone in the audience just had one of the worst days they've had in months. Mm-hmm. So your job is to take the people who were like almost going to pop their ears from the pressure in the ocean, and the people who are flying high. You have to take them both to the same level and the same energy and take them that way. And so that's the see, recognize, accept deal. The other one is like, I love wordplay. I think wordplay is witty. I think wordplay is valuable.
Like
I think
puns?
It's fun. Puns, dude. Shit, yeah. You know what you were saying about your dad jokes? You know what, back? If they didn't work, they'd be called bachelor jokes. They work. They're funny. And like,
my name is a pun. I live a pun. So I'm like, I'm over it.
Oh, no, I get you, man. Everyone here's name means a word in English that's upsetting. But no one wants to get patted.
No, yeah, look, they're all inappropriate.
I get the hey, I'm back, and I go, hey, I'm front, or hey, I'm back. Oh, where'd you go? Hey, I'm back. But they come in and say, hey, I'm back. No, that's you. Ha 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 ha. I'm like, come on, man.
On the snob thing, before Pat finishes up that, I wanted to say, you mentioned earlier kind of a snob about comedy specials. I'm not a snob about comedy specials at all. And I'll watch anything. I'm very forgiving, but I'll tell you when I get snobby and I get snarky and it's not fair and I know it. I don't like when like regular non-comics try to be funny. It really bums me out. Like I used to work at an elementary school. I used to be an elementary school teacher, and I work with all these like ladies in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they all like will make little jokes to each other. This is in North Carolina, and they'd be like, "Oh, just like I saw this on a meme or whatever," and it's just like, oh, I'm like I get upset. Like another thing that I am big about is like when I hear someone make an easy joke about someone's name, I'm like, it's his name. You think he hasn't spent 30 years? He's heard every good joke, and this isn't even one of those.
My first joke was about my name because I had to explain it. When I did FPIA, the first 3 minutes is actually the whole thing is about my name. Actually, my first name and my last name. But anyway, I don't want to cut Pat's story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, we did. I think I don't want to cut Pat's story, but let me tell you about this.
Let's not drop the energy.
No. So okay, see, recognize. What was the last one?
Accept.
Accept. So let's accept.
I've done that. We've moved on.
Oh, you haven't?
Fucking shit. All right, whatever. All right, there was that thing, and the other thing was visual jokes work better because the joke is not the collection of words. The joke is the image produced in the audience's mind as a result of those words.
Interesting. Because there is a style of you just stand there and you just deliver. Just go.
And I have great respect for that, but the truth is that that's not like there's a mic, there's no music, it's just you. If you could produce an image, all of a sudden now the audience is with you. And if you could walk them to where they accept that we're at that place, if we're producing that image, if you let them see why we're there, recognize why you're taking them there, and then they accept the image that you produce for them, that's when that's when the punchline works, and that's when all the tags just flow, is because now people they see the thing, they recognize and they accept where they're at. And I have a joke about punching a drink out of a lady's hand, and like that's a very visual thing. Like if I take my hand and make a fist and I punch the drink out of her hand, and all of a sudden now everyone is like there, and now I could do whatever I want with that energy because everyone digs on what I just painted for them in that circumstance. So when you ask if I write jokes or how I write jokes, it's the best ones I write and the ones that work at an audience are ones that are I'm describing something.
What about you, Rob?
How do you write more specifically? Shit? Oh, how do you write my shit? It's a slog and it's uncomfortable. I have always, because I think of what we were talking about earlier of like, I'm always nervous I'm doing another comic because of all the shit that's in my head. I always lean on stories, which is exhausting for people.
It's personal, yeah.
It's personal, but it's exhausting to see me at a mic trying to work out a story because it's not constructed in a way that's meant to be entertaining for you yet. I know there's something there, and I'm trying to see if I can pepper jokes in as I tell you the story. And if those work, then I keep them. So I'm a work it out on stage dude, almost exclusively. I don't write things down. And that is one of the other reasons why Pat is a better comic than me, because he takes the time to diligently transcribe his thoughts and make them better. I'm a listen back dude. I record and listen back a lot. That's big to me. I don't know. It's an energy thing in the room for me. I do well on stage. I don't mean for the audience. I feel comfortable on stage no matter how I'm doing. Like whether I'm eating shit or whether I'm doing well, I feel good because I feel at home on stage. And even if I've got 10 minutes left and they hate me, I'm like, strap in, fuckers. Like I'm not leaving. Like I'm fine with this feeling. I don't know what it is, but it's like I don't feel the need to like, oh no, what's the next joke in? I'm like, if I forget what I'm doing up here,
that is not most people. Most people don't want to be up there. Oh my God, you're a comic. Oh, you're so brave. I'm like, okay. Yeah,
it's weird. It's a weird thing. And I've gotten, I once did a mic. I used to run a nightly mic at the Fourth Wall in LA. I once got up at 7 o'clock, told a story for 5 minutes to open the fucking set. Very few laughs, didn't do very well.
Mhm.
I got up the second hour, opened again with a different story that did even worse. And I was like, oh my God. Then this guy, Leon Walker, who I love, who's super funny. We will find a way to have him down to the Romo room. He's great. Yoga Leroy. He is on Instagram, I believe. Yoga Leroy gets up and he goes, y'all just sat here. Everyone's kind of like, what? He goes up right after me. He goes, motherfucking Rob got up here and told a story with no jokes twice. And y'all motherfuckers just let it happen. Y'all let him get up and do it again and sit at the back of the room like he didn't just do that shit. And he just roasted me for a whole like 3 minutes on like, how's this guy got the host spot here? And he's getting up telling stories like it's fucking, he's on a podcast. It's like, bitch, we're trying to tell jokes in this room. And he was right. He was totally right. But then I got up, I had to then take the mic from him and continue hosting the mic. And I got up and I was like, I don't think they're going to fire me, man. So I think it's Sunday night story time with Rob until I figure out where the jokes are in this bitch. And you can come back and
work your shit, man,
at 8 o'clock and try your shit, But like, that for me is just the process. I know it's like it's fun to talk about it with Pat because we're mirror opposites. I really respect the, it's an old technology, but in my head, I think of them as typewriter comics. I imagine Pat at home with like an actual typewriter, like, haha, like.
Are you writing on a paper or on a phone, Pat?
No, I do pen and paper. If I'm writing something.
Oh, pen and paper.
Like,
wow.
I want to get better at, I'll do
there
pen
you
and
go.
paper. Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm like, I'm just gonna go up there. And it's a riskier life.
Yeah, Robert was like, I had to sit in traffic while I was here. I think I'll talk about that.
Just thought about it before I got up here and this mic turned on. That was
right.
it was really like, I mean, I was using Evernote and I was every time I think of something, I just start writing in there and I can like copy and paste, which is great. But I think oh fuck, I forgot the point I was trying to make. Yes, what I've realized, like when I first started, is I did 17 open mics and then I entered the funniest person in Austin contest. Like, why not? Like, I thought I was that good, but I knew I was going. I mean, I was going to get some killer. I knew, but I was like New Year resolution type deal. I always wanted to do it. I want to do it. Fuck it. No matter what, no matter how many times I do open mics, I'm going to get on that stage and enter this contest. And one of the things I realized, and I was recording all my sets, like video recording, and I realized that I was being so verbatim with my jokes that I wouldn't let anything kind of break the flow.
Like breathe.
Yeah, breathe, exactly. So I was like, it's not like I was reciting, but it was like I knew, okay, I don't have 3 minutes, I only have 4 minutes. So this is how much I can say. So when I'm practicing in my head or when I'm driving or whatever, I didn't put those pauses in there because I was just like, I'm gonna tell the jokes, I'm gonna keep doing my script. That's what it was. It was like, I was just gonna do my script, and I know it's gonna be some laughs in there, but I'm not gonna let them sit there because I only have 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Because usually I end up writing a whole lot, and then as I find out that this is way too many words, start trimming things. But when I did the FPIA thing, I felt more comfortable like taking pauses. At first, I was just like, all right, we're gonna go. I'm gonna tell my jokes. I'm gonna get the fuck out. It felt great. But it was that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned when I first started. I like to write, I like to play around with words, and I want to try them so bad that I don't even let them sit there when I say them on stage. So that was
it's a dialogue.
Do you have a resolution this year? It's almost time for you to start taking stand-up seriously again based on your schedule that you gave us.
Yeah, I am.
What's your resolution this year?
I'm gonna hit more open mics. I want to try all the shit that I wrote. Good, bad.
You want to turn up the stage time and get all that quarantine material out.
Actually, I don't have any quarantine. I have one
I don't mean
quarantine.
about it. I mean stuff.
Oh
you
yeah,
wrote
during
this
that
year
time.
while-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
No,
definitely.
please don't do any quarantine
No.
material. I'm saying that to everyone who's listening to this. Just cut
And-
it now.
And Trump jokes,
Treat it like
please.
a letter you write to someone you're angry. You just put it in the drawer. You don't really mail it. You know what I mean? It was a good exercise. Glad you did it, but let's just not.
And Trump jokes too. I think I'm over those.
Yeah, we get to be done with that. We get to have a bunch of jokes about how he's old and he's asleep. Like, yeah, it's easy, fun,
But do you do,
harmless.
yeah, but you guys don't do like political stuff.
I have.
How'd
I
that
used
go?
to host my own like Bill Maher style comedy talk show on YouTube.
Oh,
So I used to do a live from North
dude,
Hollywood
how old are you, man?
political
You live
talk
like
show.
20 lives.
I know. I'm 32.
Oh, yeah, okay. You still like, yeah, that's a lot. What was I doing at 32? Shit. Going to bars and
Well, to me, it's always a thing. I was always want to have a project. I've got bad ADD. I'm also like kind of misanthropic, so I don't really enjoy spending time with people. On like unless we're working. Truthfully, I have a weird thing where it's like, and Pat can testify to this. Like, how many times, Pat, have we gone like out recreationally together? And I've known you for like a year.
never.
I'll
Very
be
few.
driving right, like we'll drive someplace and like we'll be hanging out in the car and like it'll be like some hangout, and then like the conversation will just like die. But then like I'll bring up like work or like something like, you want to talk about the future? And Rob's like, yeah, do it. What do you want to talk about?
You don't do a vision board?
Fuck yeah,
Let's
dude.
do it.
Because like yeah, Rob and I don't have like a great. I can't be like, did you see the Bengals game? Like Rob has no fucking idea what the hell I'm talking. He's like, no, I didn't. That sounds horrible.
Be like,
Is
first of
everyone
all, I
okay?
thought they broke up.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know what you guys are talking
No,
about.
that was the Go-Go's. Either way.
Either way.
Got to keep a project.
I'm just
Wow.
all work, dude.
The best conversations I have with Rob are just about work and about like we could fit other things into the conversation. It's not like I can't have a beer with Rob. Of course I have a beer with Rob, but the most robust conversation, the best conversation is when we're talking about future things, and that's what interests him. The same way that something interests some other guy who wants to go have a beer with me. The thing that interests Rob is, as he said, projects and looking forward to the future. And yeah, and that's exciting because that's what matters.
Are you
is looking forward to shit.
are you guys keeping up with the comedy landscape? It's weird to use the word landscape with comedy, but like who's
How do you mean?
like who are the top comics right now? You know, who took advantage of like the quarantine time to really like put
Yeah,
themselves up there?
seeing Schultz's rise this year has been cool.
Yeah.
I think that's really
That's-
interesting.
That's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, I think he capitalized it on a good way. You know who else did a good job putting himself out there this year is Nate Bargatze. He did a really great drive-in tour. He was here in Austin. He played the stadium. Gaffigan did the same thing, and I haven't seen shit from Gaffigan all over the place. But Bargatze is I don't know if he just bought ads that I particularly end up seeing, but I was like, that shit's fucking everywhere.
Bert Kreischer was on tour the entire time.
Yeah.
On the bus.
He also had a really good special, like his little Cabin in the Woods series thing that he filmed also came out this year, which did really well. He's had a great year.
Yeah, but I love the Schultz model though.
Sure.
The idea that look, I'm gonna put out as much content as possible. I mean, this is even before pandemic, and it was like I'm gonna put as much content as possible out there. Put my special for free on YouTube in like 4 different parts or something like that, or 3 different parts, and then put up, film myself going from one club to the next, and then during the pandemic doing his monologue things that he took from Bill Maher.
Yeah.
And then now that's what his special is.
Yeah.
And he's gonna kill it. He's gonna
Here's what I'll say back about when you ask, like, are we keeping with the comedy landscape? It is very interesting to me when I can't avoid someone. Like you said, Schultz.
Yeah.
And Norm, yeah. Bargatze. There are certain comedians who took advantage of this thing so much that like I personally can't avoid them. I hang out with open mic comedians, I hang out with comedians, I hang out with funny people. Whether I'm paying attention or not, there's certain people who have just absolutely lassoed this opportunity, taken it as their own. And it's to the point where like, it doesn't matter if they're on the peripheral. I will hear about them. And
Chappelle
Chappelle.
found a way to get even bigger
Yep.
this year.
yeah, dude.
He won the Mark Twain Prize and then was like, I'm gonna show y'all motherfuckers what else is about to happen. Brilliant. And not to mention, it should be shouted out as many times as possible, provided jobs in his small Ohio town when he put on a shitload of shows. He could have done those here. He did later do them here, but he first did them in Ohio when you had, you know, middle America, everything shut down, you know, and he put people to work with that. And that's, I think, another thing that we all forget is like, we talk about comedy and stand up a lot from the perspective of comics who want to make it or people who are trying to do stuff, but everything that we do is bigger. Like when we did shows this weekend at the Brass Tap, that was cool to have Mark Norman down, and we got really excited about putting up our own comics around him and stuff. And you know, but we also employed the Brass Tap. We also made sure those servers took home money to fucking pay their rent and buy Christmas presents. And you know, it's like there's an economy around this industry. It's not just about the comics. It's mostly about the comics, and it should be. But it's just like the TV shows, you know, Tom Cruise is in all this news for yelling at people on set about breaking COVID rules. And whether you, no matter which side you feel about whether or not he should be yelling at the crew,
He's not
where
wrong.
he's coming, well, where he's coming from is a place of, I want y'all motherfuckers to have a job just like me. Like when I was working on a TV show once right after the Roseanne thing happened and they killed that show because she was on Twitter. I won't say the show I was working on at the time. It was, it's not important what show it was on, but it was a show where there's a really big team and it was a really big cast, a really big crew. It was a massive production, and it's also a show that's been on the air for like a really fucking long time. So it's a franchise. It's not a franchise. It's an institution. And so I almost went sports, Pat. I've been hanging out with you too much. So this institution had a meeting on like the first day, and it was like 2 weeks after this Roseanne thing had happened, where she goes on Twitter, says some racist shit on fucking Ambien or whatever, and all of a sudden overnight, like 200 people lose their jobs. You know, and not just her. You know, people forget, like, yeah, they brought back the show without her later, but there was a few months where it was like, is this what happens now? Cancel culture is able to shut down entire shows because the head of the show fucks up. Like, that's really scary. And if you work on a production, you're like, what is our executive producer or star going to say on Twitter that's going to get us all fired? And then now we have no job. Like, and production's already precarious. We never know when we're going to be employed. So we're sitting in this meeting, and the guy comes out who's like really big in the company, really big on the show, doesn't talk a lot directly to the staff, but he comes out for this meeting. And this was a couple years ago. And he goes, here's the deal. That serious. Like, and production's usually pretty chill, man. We're all working in TV in California. We're having a good time. He comes in, he goes, here's the deal. If any one of you fucks this up for us, it will be the end of you working in Hollywood. I will see to it. And it is not about me. It's not even about this fucking show. It is about all the people who feed their families and pay their rent and are paying for their kids to go to fucking college at this show. And like I said, it's an institution. This is a show that people got to come back to every year. If you made a good relationship, this was a reliable opportunity to make money, which in the TV movie business is just not a thing. You get a show that's on for 20 years, that doesn't happen a lot. And they're like, it didn't used to be like this. They're like, I didn't used to have to make speeches like this, because it couldn't happen. One person fucks up, you fire that person, you keep going. Now we're in this world where if one person does the wrong thing, the world freaks out and everybody loses their fucking job. And man, I will go so far as to say this guy yelled at us. It was a long speech. And I'd never even been on the show before. It was my first time. And he's like, if anyone, he's swearing, and he's like, you motherfuckers, fuck this up for us, I swear. Like, it was brutal. And I walked out and I was like, oh shit, to one of the guys who worked there before.
I want to do that some more. I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Does he do the show every day? I want to catch the matinee with my parents. It was dramatic, but I walked out and I didn't feel verbally abused. I didn't feel as though I'd been attacked. I felt like someone and he was there from the beginning, you know, he'd been making this show for 20 years. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been doing the Romo Room for a year, and I'm already like, if one of you fucking cocksuckers does some Me Too shit and gets the Romo Room branded with some like, you went and chased some girl down or did some weird shit, or like, man, I swear to God, I'll lose my, like, I get it. I get it. Cause you're like,
it makes
you care
sense.
about the thing that you built. You care about the opportunities it creates for people. And it's not just about money or pride or ego. It is about the survival of the people involved. And we live in a world now where this cancel culture woke shit will just, and you're done, and it's over for you if you catch the wind the wrong fucking way. And I'm not even commenting on whether people deserve one thing or the other. I'm just saying, like, it's never been like this before. And I understand people being really careful, whether it's, you know, sexual harassment culture or COVID or whatever it is that could get your whole world shut down. Like, protect that shit.
Yeah, we
Take
live.
care of it.
Yeah, but we live in a world now where your opinion, you can't talk to everybody and nobody at the same time, and you think your opinion matters. And so you're opening up the floodgates where, I mean, seriously, I think there are two modes of discourse online. It's either you're talking shit or you're talking shit trying to be funny. That's it. There's no, and then well, maybe the rest is things nobody cares about. But it's
Bad jokes by non-comics.
yes. So everybody's trying to be funny online in the comments on Twitter,
Right.
Facebook, and it comes across mean, and you're going to be held accountable for what you put up, no matter what the intent. What I mean, I'll
Right.
always defend someone's right to like try to be funny,
Right.
but you have to deal with the consequences of it. If it bombs, it bombs. If it kills, it kills. If you get sent to jail, you get sent to jail. If you get fired, you get fired. But by all means, keep trying. I will.
Yeah.
And if you
I will
sign
not
up
shit on
for that,
There's no consequences until there are.
exactly. But when you're living in this sea of comments and retweets, and I had somebody. So check this out. Somebody was just, Brian Redband moved to Austin.
sure.
And so I posted a picture of us like from 2015, and someone just went at me and said, "No fucking mask, you fucking losers." And I honestly sat there for like,
Well, and you're racist.
huh?
And you're racist,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, probably. But I'm like, I sat there for 30 seconds, and I thought, do I dignify this asshole? Maybe he was trying to be funny. He said, "Oh, you guys don't know where," but I'm like, or he was just trying to take a thing. I don't know the guy. I don't know. I don't know how he follows me. Maybe like Red Band retweeted it, so he saw it that way. I don't fucking know. I don't care. But I sat there for 30 seconds, and I'm like, do I respond or not? For this guy who was just trying to be funny, who just trying to fuck with me. And I did. I just said it was 2015. Go fuck yourself. But I felt kind of bad. I'm like, I just wasted time. I felt like I
Yeah,
really wasted time. Like that
it's
minute and
true.
a half. Because I was literally thinking, oh, I can come back at him, something even wittier. I'm gonna go to his profile, and I'm like, well, hold on, now I'm getting into scary territory. That's not me.
Right.
Yeah.
But a simple "go fuck yourself," I thought was just to, just to close it out, and it was gonna fuck up my day, but I felt compelled to say something, and that's how everybody feels these days. Like, I'm compelled to post this. I'm compelled to. I had my opinion matters. People don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's crazy that our loudest voices these days are text-based. That's a terrible
Yeah,
fucking system. Like, like to communicate, we've created this world where everybody's loudest voice, their most capable voice, their most listened to voice is solely text-based. And and that's ludicrous, because anyone, like we've been talking about this whole time, who knows anything about language knows you can say shit exactly the same way somebody else said it, but that one of or the little word switch or whatever, it
yeah,
changes the whole fucking thing. And so not only are we judging everybody on these text platforms for the way they wrote their shit, because we're reading it the way we read it, and we have no concept of how they wrote it.
What's
It's wild.
what's the new platform like? Is it Clubhouse where people actually talk? Like it's all
Is
audio?
that a
Have you
thing?
heard of that? Yeah. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. That's
So
interesting.
it's a new social network, and it's invite only. Like you have to be invited to get in.
Oh, that's not the alt-right one, right?
No, no,
That's a
no.
new
That's
one.
not
That's like
Parlay.
the
We call it Parlor, but
par
it's Parlay, which is
parlay. I thought it was called
French.
Mindspace. Was that not?
I don't know. I thought it was Parlay. Like it launched, and then all the right wing people just took over.
Got it.
But anyway, on Clubhouse, it's actual people in the room and just talking. And there was one, I think it was after the new Kevin Hart special, Zero Fucks
Sure.
Given. Have you guys
Yeah.
watched that?
Yeah, I liked it.
You liked it, Pat?
I thought it was classic Hart. I knew that. Like it was
Yeah.
just
It's
he
fun.
just produces
I didn't
the
like
same.
it at all. Like I fell asleep. I fell asleep, and I love I love early Kevin Hart. Like I'm a small man, big
Grown little man.
grown little man. Like that one to me is his best. Everything after that is just superstar. And I'm like, I get it. You know, his audience has changed over the years. And whatever.
This is a very different situation, though. Like, I gave him a little credit for, like, I don't know, man. I feel like you just churned something out your house. Like, I gave him that amount of credit for it.
Okay, I give him credit for that, but I'm talking about in terms
Yeah.
of the material. But anyway, to each his own. And he went and he got shit for making jokes about his daughter. Like my daughter's
Right.
a whore or something like that. And
That
he
was funny
went
as
on
fuck.
there.
That was my favorite bit.
Yeah, but he went and defended it on Clubhouse and going, no, dude, your special is called Zero Fucks Given, and here you are
Right.
defending your jokes to complete strangers.
That's a really good point.
Seriously, it makes
So
it
at
makes,
least one fuck, right?
yeah. But like again, you feel compelled. Like these guys, you know, you can say I don't like it, it's not for me, and just move on with your life. But the fact that
Right.
you have to go after somebody because you personally, you know, didn't appreciate a certain joke. I mean, fucking. Have you guys ever experienced that? You have had people come after your show and be like, "Yo, that I like that, but that one right there, I can't. My daughter is retarded." I mean, maybe not that, but no, never
No,
had
no,
that?
no, no. I've never had anyone come up to me after a show and have a problem with the joke. I mean, I relish it, you know, and I've
Oh,
told
dude.
people before, like, if anyone ever, and this is a promise I make to our comics, we stand with you. Any audience member comes up to our show afterwards and they're like, I paid X number of dollars for this ticket and I was expecting a good comedy show and he was filthy and he said this and that about abortion or gay people or whatever the fuck it was. I'd be like, I apologize that your expectations for how a comedy show works didn't play out. That's a drag. But we don't apologize for the material of our comedians, period. Try again next week. That's kind of how this goes. I'm a big fan of the Dave Chappelle line about, like, I'm a stunt man. I get paid for the attempt. Like, whether I make it across the canyon,
Exactly.
that's the show you're at. It's live theater, baby. You don't know what's going to happen. And you're not always going to like it. Like, suck it up. That's how comedy shows work. And some people just don't know that shit.
Patrice O'Neill used to say, "A good joke and a bomb come from the same place.
Mm,
It comes from the same place, and you can't. You don't knock the intent of being funny. Knock the joke. The joke sucks. It didn't work. You offended
right.
people. Blah blah blah. But the intent was still trying to be funny. And
Right.
some people do it better than others, and those people are successful. But when I've actually had friends come up to me and say, "Oh, well, here's a joke. You can try that on stage." I'm like, I'm nobody. I'm literally nobody. And you think that one joke you're gonna give me is gonna like propel me to whatever?
Or like, what are the odds that joke's
Exactly.
going to work for you?
Exactly. And it goes back to what we're saying about, you know, finding yourself and figuring out what you want to do. But if you keep getting all these outside influences, that's never going to happen. And that takes years to get to. And the
Right.
process is fascinating to me. When I hear, I geek out when I hear comics, you know, on podcasts talk about the process and what they experience, what the grind is like. the joke writing, the bombing. There's the great documentary I brought up on the show before, the story of the Comedy Store.
Sure.
Have you guys seen that one?
I haven't seen it yet. It's on my list though.
Oh,
I'm
it
really
is
looking
good.
forward to it. Yeah.
It is fucking good. It is fucking good. And you see, oh
I used to
really?
love
Like
stand-up docs.
Jim Carrey used to bomb. Like, yeah, Jim Carrey used to bomb. Jay Leno, yeah, Jay Leno. You thought that Jay Leno was always funny? You thought
Have
that?
you read Steve Martin's Standing Up?
Uh-uh.
That is my number one like auto bio stand-up rec. It's really short. You know, Steve Martin famously did stand up for 10 years and then was like, yeah, no, I'm done with this. And just flat stopped doing it at the peak of his career. Very similar to Eddie Murphy, you know, did it for a period, rose to the top, looked around, jumped the fuck off, and just stopped doing it forever. And his journey to getting to that you'll love it. You'll really, really love it. He used to do magic at Disneyland. That was where he started when he was a teenager.
Really, Steve Martin?
He would sell magic kits, and so he would have to have a little station where he like did the magic show for the kids and the family to try to then go, hey, and then now you could buy the magic kit. And that showmanship, I mean, you can tell watching him on stage in the 70s. It's like he's a magician. It's so like, here's the thing, and now it's like you have no idea. The left turn, you know, in comedy came easy to him because that's what all magic is you like Pat said, you lead them into the ocean, and then the only difference is with magic, you all of a sudden then find you're back on the beach before you realize it. You're like, oh shit, how the fuck did we came out here, now we're yeah. But like with a joke, it's just like weird that we're out here, right?
All right,
Like,
where is it? I'm trying to laugh here. I'm drowning. Yeah. You got anything for me? And then you give him the life thing. Right? Oh fuck. Right. What's it called? The buoy.
Life vest? The buoy.
Thank you. Life
preserver.
Life preserver. There you
life
go.
Preserver. That's how it's called?
Sure.
Oh, in French it's much longer than that, but okay. I didn't know that.
I think it's true for a lot of things.
No, but this is dope. This is dope. All right. I think we're gonna want to close things out. Sure. You have any dope shit to share? Besides, we'll get to the Romo room. Do you have any other dope shit?
That was gonna be mine. Was the Steve Martin book. I definitely just recommend it to anybody who's interested in stand-up and likes it. There's the two book, the book that Pat mentioned earlier, and then Greg Dean is great too. We talk about the stuff in those two books all the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Steve Martin Standing Up, a short, easy read, lots of fun, and just like a great history and one of the greats. So I recommend that to anybody.
Cool. Pat, what do you got?
Hard left turn, but it's a film then, Hell or High Water.
However, what?
Hell or High Water.
Oh, what is it about?
It is a film directed by I made it a point to remember the name and I fucking forgot the name. But anyway, it has Chris Pine and Jeff Bridges and as well Ben Foster. And it is a movie that doesn't make sense until the very end because it's kind of, you think the bad guys, David Mackenzie, God damn, little Jamie over here. Thank you, Carlin. I don't mean that disrespectfully. It was a positive when I just said that. David Mackenzie directs it. And it's a film then about brothers who you think are the bad guys at first. And then by the end, you can't tell. And it's a film that I didn't understand fully until I watched it. And I really mean this, until like the 18th or 19th time.
Really?
Where everything clicked. I understood, like, there's so many little nuances of that film. There's a point where you don't realize it's high noon until you watch it for like the 18th or 19th time. You're like, this is the showdown of the movie. And look at their shadows. It is literally high noon. Like there are so many little things about that film. It's a Western. It's a crime drama. It's it's kind of like a modern spaghetti Western. But it's set in regular times. It could happen right now. And it happens in West Texas, which I fuck with. And it just deals with
West Side. I don't know.
West Side. It kind of ropes in all of these like economic issues with like the bank's control of people, and like how being broke is like a disease, and how like a police officer can go from doing their job to seeking vengeance like that. And man, watching that film once, that's all I want anyone to get on, because you could watch that film 100 times and not get over it. And yeah, dude, I think it's one of those films that ranks so high for me, and not a lot of folks know about it. So that's my dope shit.
That is a great teaser
Plug.
review endorsement. Wait, when did it come out? When did it come out?
Like I'm catching royalties or something. No, 2016.
2016.
All right, Carlin. Dope. My dope shit. Well, I have two. One, the Andrew Schultz special. If you haven't checked it out, it's great and brilliant joke writing. And it's one of those you watch, but you have to pause. I've never actually done that for comedy special. There's no audience. He's just doing his monologue stuff about what's happened this year, but which is brilliant, I think. But two, there's so many. It's like the who used to do this? Well, I mean, think of like the Daily Show when they're talking. There's a box up top, and then it illustrates whatever he's talking about. But it goes so fast that if you blink, you could miss a joke or you could miss a reference. And there's just so many of them packed in these 15-minute parts that I'm like, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot there. Another show I started watching that Queen's Gambit thing. You guys watch that shit?
The chess thing?
Yeah, I'm not into chess.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I'm not into chess. I mean, it was like #1 trending in Netflix. I was like, my girl was watching it, and so you got to watch it. I'm like, okay. And it reminds me of it's like a Miss Maisel show, but about chess.
Sure.
There's this girl who's great she's naturally gifted at this thing, and she's going to break down the barrier because guys are assholes in the 60s. And she's going to show her that she can be the best and blah, blah, blah. I'm not done with it yet. But it's interesting because I'm fascinated by little like subcultures. And yet I read something that said like when the show came out, like people were Googling chessboards online like crazy.
Yeah, way more people are starting to like buy and play chess because of the show.
Exactly.
They made it cool.
Exactly, which is great. I'm all for it. I still don't know how to play chess, but to hear people who know about it talk about it, I find that fascinating. I don't have to understand it, but it's interesting to see how people interact in that context, and that's the kind of shit I like. So anyway, the Romo Room plugs where people can find you and all that good stuff. Rob?
Yeah. So we finally bought the goddamn domain. We're gonna buy the proper domain in Austin, but in the meantime, we bought the domain for the Romo Room. So theromoroom.com is where we're gonna have tickets and show information and all that kind of stuff. We got some big stuff. We get some really big stuff coming up. A lot of it is still quiet because we don't have the details and things aren't finalized. As far as the room, we think we have maybe some very exciting developments about the physical venue that we want to do. So that could be a new thing. But I guess we can announce today because it's confirmed.
I look at Pat like, yeah, fucking exclusive. Let's go. 2020 is over.
Yeah, this is our exclusive.
Let's look at 2021.
2020 is over. Our first, I think it will be our first show of 2021. Definitely our next celebrity headliner series. We got Brett Ernst, who I really, really just have been a huge fan of for over 10 years. Saw him on Vince Vaughn's Wild West comedy show like 12 years ago, whenever that was. And he came into my attention and I just kept paying attention to him. He's a fucking hilarious, like just Guido, New Jersey dude. He has a couple of great episodes of This Is Not Happening, the Comedy Central series.
The storytelling.
But yeah, killer dude. Brett Ernst, really exciting. I think that's the 8th and 9th of January, second weekend there. But that'll be at the Brass Tap of the Domain. And tickets will be on sale fairly soon, actually, once we get some promo stuff made up and get everything created. But yeah, man, exciting stuff. And we're already talking to our celebrity headliner for February. Not confirmed yet, so we can't say who that is.
Are you looking at?
But we also have Yeah, for the celebrity headliner series at the Domain, for that one show, we've got a once a month engagement right now.
Okay.
But we want to start putting up a bunch of other things. We've worked with other venues. We were at the venue with you. We might be going back there. Yeah, a bunch of stuff kind of in the works. We have a few meetings to take before we can officially talk about things. But it's very exciting. And, you know, the stuff that we've been doing has caught some attention, and, you know, people want to collaborate with us. And so, yeah, we're excited to keep putting it up. And we're going to have a lot of smaller stuff too. It won't just be like, you know, huge headliners from now on, and we're going to forget about the people in town. First of all, we always put up our local features and stuff around them, which we get excited about. But we want to do some smaller stuff too. I've got some really good friends in LA and New York who are great comics who aren't like huge, but they've got a really solid, you know, 30, 40-minute headlining set that they'd love to come in down and do for us. And we could put more comics up around them since they're doing less time. And so we're hoping to do 2 shows a month starting January minimum.
Mhm.
And it'll be like an every 2-week thing. And if we can do more, we'll do more, and we'll keep you up to date.
You're such a project manager.
Hey man, always.
All right,
Always.
Pat, what you got?
We are at Mr. Tramps this Saturday, which I'm stoked about. Mr. Tramps is, I don't want to say legendary, but at least it used to have stand-up comedy, and it used to be a great room for stand-up. And yeah, we're there this Saturday. It's the Naughty List presented by First Amendment Comedy, subletted by Roma Room. I don't know how to actually word the title of this, but Ozzy will be on it. Dean will be on it. Gabe Davis will be on it. Fucking Nassia will be on it. Nate will be on it. Big Nate. And I'll be hosting, and it's going to be a rad time, $5 at the door. And yeah, dude, just excited to finish the year strong. Like Rob said, we got a lot of projects down the pipeline, and dude, a lot of great stuff coming. And back, this is part of it, bro. Having him on this deal it means a lot, and we're excited to be on this. And
you'll see my black ass around. Trust me. I mean, you'll see me around.
Do you
Wait,
follow
did you
soccer?
say your back ass?
What's that?
You said
Rob's
your
doing
back
it again.
ass? Was that?
He's doing it again. Rob's doing it again.
You gonna end the show like this, man? My own show?
No. But back, I was gonna ask if you follow soccer at all. If you follow soccer.
I used to. It's tougher now. I usually watch when Paris plays because that's where I'm from. I try to watch that as much as possible, but the European Cup, World Cup, I'm always African Cup too. I'm on it. I'm on that.
Okay. I was gonna ask if you knew who I was gonna say you looked like.
Go ahead.
N'Golo Kante.
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it.
You never stop smiling. I feel like that's a fair draw.
No, I'll take it. I'll take it. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
Second that.
I'll take it. But yeah, thank you so much for being on, guys. I want to do more of these. You know, I want to catch up with you guys later and see what's up. You'll definitely see me around next year.
Dude, I'll teach you how to play chess, dude. I'm negative fucking around.
I'll take tranquilizer pills and then try to picture it on the ceiling like she does in the show. I'm not spoiling anything. It is in the first episode. But anyway, I'm really excited for you guys. I'm really happy for you guys. Definitely needed these days. Rest in peace, Cap City. So it's going to be more. I think there's a need for comedy now more than ever. It sucks that they had to shut down. It sucks that clubs had to shut down. But I think that after the year we just had, it's gonna come back strong. So you gotta have that momentum, ride that wave, go out there, support comedy, support local comedy, whatever the price is. I mean, you need this. You need this. I'm surprised that's considered essential. So anyway, as always, follow the FeedBak everywhere.
FeedBak. That was for you. You can use that.
The call. It's right there. Just follow it. Just follow.
There's your promo, dog.
Just follow me. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll talk to you next time. Ciao, ciao. And Happy New Year. Happy New Year. 2020 is over. Let's do this. 2021. Ciao.